Hey guys, how are y'all doing today? So, my name is Ginger Terrell, and I run the Southeast Division of the Referrals Group, which is a closed invitation only referral network. And I'm so excited to bring you a recorded version of a workshop that I do live and in person, and that usually takes about an hour or more, depending on audience participation. But what I've decided to do is break this up into 4 or 5 different segments. We'll see where this takes us. But the topic is networking in an event driven town. And you may be in a town that is notorious for so many events that you feel overwhelmed and you feel like you're never going to be able to figure out where to network. You don't even know what networking may be out there, or maybe you go to everything. You go to every chamber meeting, you go to every business association meeting, you're a member of a closed networking group such as the Referrals Group or BNI or Power Core or Master Networks or LaTip or whatever your closed referral solution is in your city. And so, what I wanted to do was just talk a little bit about how to get really laser clear on who you are, who you serve, what types of networking you should be doing based on those two things. And let's just, unpack some of that. And I hope that you'll find this valuable. So, some of you might be wondering what qualifies me and why should I listen to you? Well, that's a great question. So, just a little background on me. I've got 12 years of food and beverage, 11 years of insurance, and then the last 13 or 14 years I've spent as an entrepreneur in the sales, marketing, advertising world. But to break that all down into one word, I am what is known as a connector. So, a connector is someone that has built a network of people and resources to help their clients, colleagues, friends, and family. And that is essentially what I do. Now, if you were to go and Google the term connector, like connector jobs, you probably wouldn't find anything. So, at least not in terms of business networking. But this takes me all the way back to the fourth grade. And in the fourth grade, I made my very first connection to a schoolmate of mine. And that connection led her into a musical journey of an icon that she followed all over the world. And it has seen her through some dark times. It's seen her through divorce. It has seen her through raising 5 or 6 children. It's just been an incredible thing to watch her journey unfold. And now 40 some odd years later, she is still a huge fan of this musical icon, and it's just so interesting. And then over the course of time, what I've been able to do is take all of my experience from all the different industries that I've served, and now I'm able to communicate this to the world. So in 2007, I left corporate America forever and ever, amen, and decided to start my own entrepreneurial journey. However, I did not know anything about networking, absolutely nothing. All I saw was stars in my eyes. I decided to buy a day spa, and I thought, that's wonderful. I can't wait to own my own business and make a lot of money. It was on one of the wealthy mountains in our city. It already had some people that were uh, current clients, and I thought this is great. The problem is I didn't have a network. I knew nothing about owning a business. I knew nothing about referrals. I knew nothing about anything. And sadly, that business closed 6 months later. Now, what I did not know at the time is that I was already buying a failing business. And so, as they say, hindsight's always 2020. So that is the truth. So let's just continue forward a little bit. I left that and went into radio. And the radio station automatically put me into the Chamber of Commerce and my local BNI. And BNI stands for Business Networking International. They are the largest referral organization in the world, and they are known for stellar training in terms of networking. Ivan Meisner was the founder of that. He's one of the networking kings in our world. And I learned a lot while I was there. So I was a director on the bookends of that decade. And in the middle of that decade, I left for a few years to go pursue my MBA, which I did get in my 40s. So it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still go get your degree if that's what you want to pursue. And then when I came back, I just was in a different place. Um, I was running into a lot of colleagues that were telling me that they were challenged because they couldn't make weekly meetings. They didn't want to be a part of large group settings because inside that setting, they require, 25 people to a group. And the people that wanted to work with me didn't want to be in groups that big. And so it began to turn into a really interesting situation for me where I found that I needed to find another organization that would help me serve the people I've been called to serve the best. And that's when I found the Referrals Group. So please note this presentation is not going to be about the Referrals Group. I'm just giving you background. And so now I've entered into a space where I've been with them for about 3 years now, and I am continuing to grow my networks. But here's some challenges that I ran into. Okay, so I was known as the networking queen in my city. But when I left BNI to go to the Referrals Group, I had to rebuild my brand. And that took me almost 2 years. Do not think that's easy. It is not. I'm hoping that this presentation will help you and help you speed that process up if you find yourself in that situation that you're having to rebrand yourself and um, walk into some other situations that otherwise you may not have found yourself in and create more opportunities and relationships with people. And that's exactly what I've been able to do. Now, the other piece of this is that in 2018, I probably experienced more loss, death, and trauma. I'm sorry, 2018, less death and trauma than most people might be exposed to within a 6-month period. I found a partner dead in my home. 6 months after that, one of my best friend's nieces was murdered less than a mile from my house. And then 2 weeks after that, I found my very best friend of 30 years. I didn't find her, but I lost her. She died due to organ failure from a heart transplant. So to say that I understand the grief journey would be an understatement. I understand it more than most. I know that other people have experienced way more than I have in their lifetime, and I don't diminish anyone's grief. And so I bring something to the table that's a little bit different in terms of I truly want to get to know the people I'm working with. I want to know their stories. I want to know why they're doing what they're doing, why they chose the business that they're in. I want to know what their journey is. And that just helps me connect even more to people. And I think that's why a lot of people call me. I'm pretty much known as the girl that when someone says, "Hey, do you know someone that fill in the blank?" they'll say, "You need to call Ginger." So I'm very honored and privileged to be that person for my tribe. And I invite you into this space too so that you can become a go-to person. So the things that we're going to be talking about are going to be, how to identify referral sources and centers of influence. You also need to understand who you are, and you're going to have to unpack that before you can get into the networking spaces that you need to be in. So, in this first segment, we're going to talk about identifying those referral sources and centers of influence after we've unpacked who you are. The next video will talk about what type of networking organizations are out there, what are some of the rules or commandments, so to speak, of going to those networking events. The third one that we're going to talk about is going to be motivational support tools. How can you support the referral partners in your life and engage them to where they want to send referrals to you? And then the last thing that we'll talk about is measuring your activities and how that will absolutely lead to your success. So, the first thing I want to talk about is your life mission. And here's mine. My life mission basically is to transform lives through the power of connections. And you may be wondering, what in the world does that mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, in terms of your life mission, you have to think about, who am I at the core? Okay. You have to understand your own personal reason for doing the business that you do and how your work reflects that mission. It's a vital component to where you're going to spend your time and how you interact with people within those networking spaces. So, understanding who you are. So, for me, I had to understand that I have a powerful way to connect people. It's a gift. God gave this to me. I did not wake up one day and decide this is what I wanted to do. It's just something that has come to me as a gift. I can talk with someone and immediately within 15 or 20 minutes probably have a list of people and resources that they could use to help them take the next step in their journey. And so it's going to become imperative that you find out exactly why you are here. So when I say I transform lives through the power of connections, that can look very different depending on who's sitting in front of me. My networks are both vast and deep. And whatever a person is looking for, I can usually either directly connect them or tap into my own networks to find people who can help connect them with people that they trust. But what my life mission also helps me understand is what I need to say no to. Okay. I'm not all things to all people, and neither are you. So if I'm not all things to all people, that means everyone's not my client. So here's the mistake a lot of entrepreneurs and business people make is whenever you ask them, well, who are you looking to work with? Well, anybody that breathes, anybody that's got money, anybody that can afford this. That tells me you're numbers driven and not quality driven. And if you are numbers driven, then this particular workshop is not for you, because numbers driven is really more about getting people in the door, selling your widgets, selling, there's restaurants might be numbers driven, but still they do have a customer. I think it's really important to get out of the numbers game and get into the quality game. So if you are numbers driven, I would encourage you to rethink that. Okay. I have to be laser focused on my calling so that every single activity and interaction that I do falls in line with that. And once you know who you are and how your work flows into that, you're going to be much better at articulating what you need, both personally and professionally. So once you've worked through that, and there's a lot of different questions that you can ask yourself to figure out who you are. There's also a lot of assessments you can take. There's 16personalities.com that gives a kind of a free overlook of your personality, how you work with people, how you interact with people, how you are in relationships. There are multiple personality tests out there, the Myers-Briggs, Career Direct. There's all kinds of ways that you can laser focus on who you are, what your strengths and weaknesses are, what your interests are, your personality, how that plays into your work. And if you haven't taken the time to do something like that, I would encourage you to do that. In fact, that's something that I also do. It's part of my passionate work. I do it through a company called Career Direct, and it assesses your personality, skills, interests, and value system. And if you'd like to talk about what that could look like, please do feel free to reach out to me. But For the purpose of this particular presentation, and we're about to wrap up with this part one, I'm going to help you figure out who your target market is. And I'm going to use an example of a real estate agent because I tend to work with a lot of people that serve the home sector. So real estate agents, um, mortgage brokers, insurance agents, title companies, estate attorneys, you name it, that's who I serve. And then there's other industries that fill in a lot of that. I work with business coaches, life coaches, health coaches, social media marketers, accountants, bankers, the list goes on and on. But if you were to ask a realtor, who are you looking to serve, who's your client, most of them will tell you, well, anyone that wants to buy or sell a home. And if you're watching this and you're not in an industry that serves home sellers or home buyers, the likelihood of you knowing a home seller or buyer is probably very low. And so what we really try to focus on is teaching people how to identify that. And there's actually two ways to do that. And I'm just going to use, of course, the realtor screen here as an example for you. So there's two questions to ask. When you get a phone call or a text message or a Facebook message, someone saying, hey, I need to refer you to so-and-so. I've got someone that wants to buy a house, or I have someone that wants to sell their house. The question is, what is the industry of that person that's calling you? And here's some typical answers to that. A financial advisor will most likely call a realtor because they're working through a large sum of money that's been obtained and they're working on the portfolios and there's real estate involved and they need a realtor to handle that transaction. Another one is going to be an HR director. These are people that are helping people relocate to areas. They're hiring people, and a part of their package is helping them find a home. Another industry would be family law attorneys. So you go through divorce, uh, also estate planning attorney. Someone dies, there's assets, there's real estate, and all of that stuff has to go somewhere. So on one side of the equation, people referring to realtors are going to be similar to the list that I just went over. Now, the second question to ask yourself is, who do I refer business to? When I have a client in front of me and they need a service that I don't offer, who am I calling? And for realtors, for example, most of them are going to be calling a mortgage officer because they need them to help with the mortgage process. They're going to be calling an insurance agent, probably a personalized insurance agent, unless it's a commercial agent, and then they're going to call a business insurance agent, but they're going to have to help their client get new insurance, homeowners, things like that, a title company, and a home inspector. And the list goes on and on and on. So to wrap this up, what do you do? I encourage you to take a picture of this screen and fill in what your industry is. Okay. So if you're a coach, a business coach, for example, or a life coach, who's calling you to refer business to you? Write down all the different industries that call you. Is it other health? Is it other health coaches? Is it other types of coaches that don't do what you do? Is it grief recovery specialists? Could it be divorce attorneys? I mean, there's a plethora of people that would look to hire a business or a life coach. And then when you have your client in front of you, who are you referring to? So, and then make that list, and that will help you work through who your target client is. Well, I hope that this has been helpful to you. And if you would like to know more information, you can certainly call me. My number is 423-355-1921. Also, my email address is ginger, Ginger, at thereferralsgroup.com. And I hope that this has been helpful to you. And if you need anything, please reach out. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you.